Welcome to the Human Together podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jason Floyd. Human Together is a show that is centered on humanity to create understanding and appreciation for individuals and groups that are both informative and thought-provoking. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Human Together podcast show. And I've got to tell you, I am a huge history buff. Whether it's reading about World War II, the Civil Rights Movement, and even Oklahoma history, I can't get enough, and I'm constantly reading books and watching movies about historical events. One of the figures in history that has fascinated me for years is Winston Churchill. I've seen several movies about his life, and one of my favorite authors, Candace Millard, has written a book about his life called Hero of the Empire, The Boer War, A Daring Escape, and the Making of Winston Churchill. And another one of my favorite authors, Eric Larson, has a book coming out called The Splendid and the Vile, a saga of Churchill, family, and defiance during the Blitz. Movies and books are great, but what about first-hand accounts? What about actually meeting the person? Well, Winston Churchill is long dead, but I had the opportunity to go hear his granddaughter, Celia Sandys. Celia spent the first 21 years of her life being very close to her grandfather. She recently spoke at the McKnight Center at Oklahoma State University, and being the big history nerd that I am, I had to go. First, a little bit about the McKnight Center at Oklahoma State itself. It is a beautiful facility that just opened up in the fall and offers a new performance space on campus that is going to be home to many performances in the near future. I encourage everyone to go check it out. The talk by Celia Sandys was one of the first events as the center opened up. I was one of the many in attendance the day that she spoke. I probably brought down the median age of the audience by about 20 years, but either way, I wanted to find out more about Sir Winston Churchill. The night started with an introduction by Oklahoma State University President Burns Hargis, then a talk by Celia, followed up with a Q&A session with her and President Hargis. I thought the event was interesting and engaging. Today, I want to offer some insights and highlights the takeaways that I had from the presentation. I will also offer a link to the complete presentation offered that day at Oklahoma State University. Mrs. Sandy was a delightful speaker and was very complimentary of the university and even said she loved OSU and would send a kid here herself. As I mentioned earlier, Celia spent the first 21 years of her life being a close companion with her grandfather, Winston Churchill. She started the presentation talking about the early life of Winston Churchill, and here are a few facts that I'd like to share. Going to school, he was not what you would consider a good student. In fact, Celia even mentioned that he was a bad student. I was surprised to learn that he was born with a speech impediment and could not properly pronounce S's. This did not deter him from becoming one of history's most elegant speakers. Interestingly, even though he became the British Prime Minister, he never considered himself a politician, rather a writer. Celia went on to speak of the great love of Winston's life, his wife Clementine. I've previously read about their marriage that lasted over 60 years. But thanks to the presentation, I also found out that Clementine was the only person that could tell Winston that he was wrong. It's been well documented that Churchill drank in excess and was a heavy smoker of cigars, and he often shared a drink with our own president, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. However, FDR's wife, Eleanor, deeply despised Churchill because of his heavy drinking and smoking. I learned that he was a very stubborn man, and later in life he even smoked through his oxygen mask as he was very sick and about to die. During this time in his late life when he was ill, he would even sneak out and go to casinos. Late in his life, 1962 to be precise, he was on a trip to Monte Carlo where he broke a hip. He felt he was going to die as a result of the injury. He did not want to die on foreign soil, so he took an emergency plane which flew him back to England with his daughter Celia by his side. He recovered from the injury, but his health was never the same. He died in 1965 at the age of 90. Ironically, he died on the same day as his dad, 70 years later. Celia shared lots of interesting and poignant facts about her grandfather's life, but the one that stuck out to me was when he was visiting the White House in the United States after World War II. A drunk soldier came up to him into the Capitol and didn't recognize who he was, and said to Churchill, "Hey, Fatso, where's the John?" In reply, he said, "It's on the left, marked gentleman, but don't let that detour you." That was the type of humor that Churchill displayed on a daily basis. Upon retirement from public life, he still wanted to maintain his dignity and pursue his passion of painting. I learned that he painted over 500 works and they're still on display at museums across the world. I doubt I would have learned that in a movie or a book about Churchill. Sir Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill was not a perfect man by any means. However, he was a great leader, orator, writer, husband, and artist. His life was anything but dull. A figure in history that has aspects that we can all learn to become human together.